in your conversations with clients that you've had while you've been here this week, what are clients most excited about? Are these themes that we were just talking about resonating with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think certainly experiences, lots of value-based discussions, right? How do we do sustainability? How do we build that into our marketing? How can we better behave as a marketing organization around the things that consumers and communities really care about today? Lots of discussion on commerce. I think finally we're no longer just talking about e-com in the basic sense. We're talking about connected commerce, and we're having discussions about what a digitized store looks like, as much as we are having conversations about what shoppable digital ads can look like. So I'd say sort of values and how those values manifest authentically for consumers. The evolving connected commerce ecosystem, if you will, new forms of creativity. It's a pretty broad set of discussion points, but I would say those three in particular.
All right. So going back to the buzzwords that you were throwing out a minute ago. So
I am an agency executive, Ben.
No. Before, when you're the Web3 stuff. Which of those do you think are actually enduring trends versus what do you think is more like flash in the pan, or maybe some of these things are just too early to be taken very seriously?
Sure.
I'll throw out a few. So metaverse.
Sure. I mean, it's typically the kind of question I would ask you.
I can answer it if you want.
I know you can, and you may want to, as I fumble this completely. As somebody who grew up seeing Facebook become what it is today, it strikes me that these emerging technologies and capabilities eventually will become kind of the website or the Facebook page from back in the day, right? So I'm sure you all remember the questions like, do I need a website? Right? And then it became, do I need a Facebook page? Right? And then it became, do I need an app? And I think we're at the point now where brands are starting to ask the question, do I need a metaverse presence? Do I need to be investing in broader Web3 technologies, so on and so forth? So, and I'm going to answer this purely through the lens of building a brand and growing a business. I don't think it's just fluff, and I don't think it's just speculation, because we're going to see, do I need a metaverse presence grow out of where consumers are going to be spending more and more time, and we've seen the explosion in gaming as an example, and we know gaming is kind of home base for where a lot of these metaverse-y experiences are extending from. So, is it going to solve your business problem today? Absolutely not. Do you need to be thinking about making smart bets for the future? I would say yes, and do it in the same way you debated, do I need a website? Do I need a Facebook page, et cetera?
Yeah, I think to the extent that it's real today, it's definitely in the form of games, like Fortnite and Roblox. And some of our clients are actually doing great stuff in that space. I mean, Disney, one of our clients, is a standout for all the content integrations that they've done in Fortnite. And it's done in a very natural way, where it's like cosmetics in the game that are from their huge stable of different universes, like Star Wars cosmetics, Marvel cosmetics. So that feels very organic and natural. I think what's going to be interesting to see play out is the, let's say, the less creative applications of brands in the metaverse, where it's like, we're going to literally replicate a physical store that exists in the real world in this virtual environment. Like, does that make sense?
It does, and to be frank, we're seeing examples of that with increasing scale in Asia, in particular, and I think they're probably a year, 2 years out ahead of us in terms of delivering those experiences and having actual economies, functioning economies, operating within those ecosystems. So, I think if you look at it from the standpoint of luxury brands, beauty brands in particular, doubling down in those areas and looking at growth markets, specifically in Asia. I think it's going to get willed into existence, and I think we're going to see more of that move westward sooner than we think.
It's definitely an interesting time in terms of experimentation because no one really knows what works well in that space, and also the scale just isn't there. If you're thinking about the metaverse as being an immersive VR type experience, like I think Meta's Horizons app right now has about 100,000 active users. So it'll be interesting to see how well that scales, especially as hardware gets better. All right, so closing this out, what's the number one thing that you're going to bring from this year's Cannes back to your work in your role?
I think it's going to be a call to action for me to my teams to better define what creativity means in terms of modern media. And I think so often we get caught in what I tend to call the algorithm of short-term impact, right? And the large platforms we operate within have trained us very well to optimize for those short-term impacts. And I think sometimes we're doing that at the expense of or despite opportunities, the bigger opportunities that truly build lasting brands and relevant brands today. And I'm not saying we need to go back to the Mad Men era at all. I think it's about how we embrace creativity in terms of where consumers are today. So that we can bring real brand building competencies into an increasingly digital world. And I think we need to continue to ask those really tough questions about the relationship between desire and demand, brand and performance, whatever analogies you use, because I think we're going to see brand equity dip as more brands are investing in more transactional downstream digital media, but the smart ones will figure out how to be more creative with their brand building in those digital ecosystems. So that's the challenge to the teams.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much for doing this, George.
It's my pleasure.